Hello, everybody. My name's Danny Moore. I'm one of the co-founders of Pharmacy Co-op. So we thought it was a good time to do a video presentation to give you an overview of our vision, strategy, plans, and how you can help. But part of this presentation is to also to give you a bigger picture view to what we're doing. And as you'll see, Pharmacy Co-op is just one project, which is part of a much bigger vision, and I'll go through that today. So, starting with the vision, we thought we'd start with this quote: "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." I'm sure a lot of you have heard that quote or seen that quote before from Napoleon Hill. So, a lot of people, when they hear about visionary sort of projects or maybe ideas, a lot of people think maybe they're not achievable. But as that quote suggests, whatever you can conceive in the mind, whatever you believe you can achieve, you can actually manifest that. That's just the truth and reality. So imagine a future where humanity and the planet flourish together. Where we have the true freedoms to live our best lives, and how power is decentralized and in the hands of local communities, and where we have strong communities resilient to any crisis. So this is kind of a vision or a future that we imagine. And talking about a new paradigm, what is a paradigm? It's just a new way of thinking or doing things that replaces the old way. So that's what kind of, if we talk about a new paradigm, that's kind of what it means. So in this new paradigm, there's new infrastructure, which is locally focused. It's owned by the people, and it's regionally and nationally connected, which gives it that strength. Also within this new paradigm, it's the alternative systems and services or new systems and services, which are community owned, people powered, all connected, secure and resilient, and governed by what's called natural law. So within this, again, new paradigm, it's many new social enterprises. So the purpose of these enterprises is to benefit the people and regenerate people and nature, to reconnect us to our true individual purpose, but also reconnect us to people and the communities, also reconnect us to wildlife and nature in general. So that's what this new paradigm kind of looks like for us. And yeah, apologies, there's a lot of information on that. We're going to get through it as quickly as I can, but the kind of the old systems just to really skirt over, because we're kind of moving past these. What we're helping to create is an alternative to these old systems. Yes, the current systems still, but we see them as the old systems, which are global, globalization, which centralized, wherever that might be. They're very controlling, they're exploitative and coercive. And the purpose of these systems and these organizations is to maximize profit, to centralize power, and capitalistic. So this, what that means is, in terms of it's all about making a tiny number of people richer. And these systems are very, very fragile, and we're seeing that now as a lot of these systems are on the decline and are collapsing. So, what we're focused on in terms of the vision is allowing humanity to thrive, and this is all about localization, ownership and production. Why we have the control over all production of essential goods and services. And it's focused on nature-friendly farming, healthy food, local production and control of energy and water and housing, and other essential items and services as well, including health and education, which we'll get onto later. But part of that is all about local economies. What is an economy? It's just a system that which people they produce goods and services, and how things are moved around. So within a kind of economy in general, or local economy, there's no money needed really. But so localization is a big one. Another big area for us is the idea of sovereignty. So obviously we've got the individual sovereignty. So that's just kind of ownership and control over your life, and what you need. Being empowered, following our passions, and be able to contribute our talents and energy to what we believe in, really. And we're a big believer in creating these new systems and services. So that's kind of individual sovereignty and freedom, etc. But also there's the idea of community sovereignty. So this is the decentralization of power, and then again freedoms for communities to decide what needs they have. To be self-sufficient is a big one in terms of whether it's food, which we'll talk about, health sovereignty, energy sovereignty, water is going to be a big one as well, and being self-sufficient with that. So all of this, what we talk about here, it gives it, creates that resilience, and those economies, and again, sovereignty is around finance as well, and logistics that we'll talk about. But another big one in terms of allowing humanity to thrive is the idea of connection. And we're a big believer of interconnection, and everything and everyone is interconnected, interdependent, and interrelated, all these but that creates this connection, creates a strong ecosystem or a network, basically. And again, that's what the networks and the ecosystems is what gives us the strength and resiliency and resilient communities. And a big part of the connection, which we'll talk about, is what we call a people-owned logistical infrastructure, and we'll get into that later, as I said, and systems that encourage reconnection. And we said ourselves, people, communities, and animals is another one which we need to be reconnected with. There's a famous quote from Gandhi. He once said that you can judge the moral progress of a nation by how it treats its animals. And obviously, if we look at that now, it's appalling. But yeah, and the reconnection back to nature, we're completely disconnected from all of these things, including nature, and that's having a big effect on individual mental and physical well-being, and general community, and everything like that. And the last part of allowing communities to humanity to thrive is the new solutions, and these solutions and ideas that it regenerates our planet, improves our health and well-being, and creates that people-owned infrastructure. And the big one is in terms of solutions, is the idea of permaculture design. So this is not necessarily just the growing food element. It's about a systems thinking approach, designing enduring systems which support human society. It's a study of integrated systems, it's everything that we're doing here and presenting here. So just to move on further with the vision, three main areas, but there's so much more to talk about, but we're just trying to keep it more concise here. Existing communities. So the vision that we have is new nature-friendly and regenerative farms, which we'll go into in a bit later as well. But our vision is to allow and help launch hundreds of these regenerative, locally owned farms, where focused on local needs, food and natural medicine, connected to a greater network, which we'll talk about as well. So another part of existing communities is the vision of launching hundreds of community hubs, all over the country. So this could be existing buildings, and there's so many empty buildings at the moment, as you'll know, retail, industrial, churches, all sorts of buildings that could be available for these community hubs, or whether it's newly created hubs on land, which again we'll talk about shortly. But these community hubs, local economic hubs, offering everything we need, really. And then, as well as existing communities and what we can bring there in terms of our vision, we're looking at new communities, which the vision that we will have and will deliver on, are creating what we're calling forest eco-villages. So these are developments, what we call multi-use developments, where you've got residential, obviously people living there, commercial, where we've got businesses operating out of those spaces, and also agricultural, which the growing side of food, etc. So these developments, these housing developments, these new builds, are all going to be within a food forest type concept. And again, this is another project that we're working on, which I'll touch on shortly. But our vision is to build these new communities, these new developments, again, all over the country. And everything that I've talked about here in terms of the existing communities, what we can bring in, and these new communities, everything's going to be interconnected, again, giving us that strength and resiliency of what we need.